Los Angeles Rams head coach Sean McVay could be leaving the team at the conclusion of the 2022 season. This, according to reports close to ESPN and McVay, that state that he has been through a lot this year. He's gone back and forth on a decision about whether or not he wants to remain with the team. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been courted by TV networks. He's gotten married and watched his wife's country of Ukraine be invaded, lost a family member, and above all, the Los Angeles Rams did not meet the expectations that they had coming into the season, coming off of that Super Bowl. So he's been through a lot. He's had a lot on his mind, obviously, a lot of it personal as well as professional. And it looks like Sean McVay is going to need to make a decision. There's going to be a decision that's made one way or another, right? He's either staying with the team or he's not. And what I will say is don't ignore this, because this is something that we heard last year around the same time. And this was when they were on that Super Bowl run and just following that Super Bowl run as well. The talk of Sean McVay potentially moving over to television, of him moving over to announcing. And it's something that he's been on record as saying that, he'd be interested in at some point. And look, He also, at the same time, said that people have been blowing that specific comment out of proportion and that he has not announced anything about whether or not he's going to leave the team. McVay was reached for comment. He did not comment on this specific report. And look, if we're looking at what's happening here, the Rams, even right before the season, were a team that were in a bit of a flux and they were going to go through a rough patch, right? You traded away all your first round picks until 2025. And you went all in on the Super Bowl. And you won. They won the Super Bowl. And no one can take that away from them. And you could really argue that they won. They took the king shilling and they got what they wanted. But at the end of the day, the king expects you to kill. And what ended up happening is you kind of jeopardized a bit of your future in that. So you have that. You have the fact that they've paid out all these big contracts to some people who aren't even playing. And in 2023, they're really screwed when it comes to the cap number. They really don't know what they're going to do. The offensive coordinator is leaving to go take a job back at Kentucky. So it's all going to seem to fall on McVay's shoulders. And I'm just saying, don't discount the personal aspect of this, right? Because as much as we want to see these coaches as professionals who are in a career and doing their job and love this team, which no one's saying that Sean McVay doesn't love the team. No one's saying Sean McVay doesn't love the players or anything like that. But at the end of the day, burnout is a thing. And there are not a lot of people, and even a lot of head coaches who work as hard, who are as dedicated and passionate as Sean McVay. This is a guy who remembers every single play of every single game he's ever coached. And he's been coaching for a while. People forget, Sean McVay, yeah, he's a young guy in that he's 36 years old. But people forget, when he was 28 when he was hired by the Rams. He was hired back in 2017. And ever since then, all they've done is really win. This was the first losing season this team has had since he came on board. He came in 2017, took over for a god-awful Jeff Fisher coach team, and had them at 11-5. So you have and then they go to the Super Bowl. They have the disappointing 2019 season, but they still end up 9-7, 10-6. They lose to Green Bay in that game, and that was the game that everyone was like, all right, it's the Jared Goff experiment is over. And which it was over, at least in LA. It's not a failure because Jared Goff is still in the playoff hunt as of this recording. This could change. But anyway, my point is, this is a dude who has a Super Bowl. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, and he's done a lot in his short time as a head coach in the NFL. And if he were to want to change the direction of his career or even just take a break from coaching, I don't discount that as a thing that could happen. So there's that aspect of it. The other thing that I do want to talk about is the fact that he has drawn interest from many TV networks. We know that Amazon, that Sean McVay was their guy. They had Al Michaels. They had brought him in. Kirk Herbstreit was always an option, but the guy they really wanted as their an analytical or their analyst, I should say, was Sean McVay because of his football knowledge, because he has an eidetic memory, because the dude is one of the smartest human beings, whether it comes to football or anything else in the NFL. Like, that's a reason to bring him in, and everyone knows his name. He's still young, and he's a draw at the end of the day. That didn't happen. They bring in Kirk Herbstreit, but reports are that he's still getting interest. And this is even with Fox saying that, they're going to pay Tom Brady $100 million to come in. This is even with CBS having Tony Romo and all these guys. It seems like every single network has like their key guy, but what we forget is networks like Fox and particularly CBS, they do have like secondary announced teams because they always broadcast multiple games on Sundays. Sean McVay can just go on one of those teams. Or what about a 3-man booth that involves Tom Brady and Sean McVay? That's very possible, and you want to bring ratings, you want to bring credibility, that's a way to do it. But regardless, I think that we should not discount this report, and I believe that there's a good chance that he could at least take a break. Now, the other caveat to this is that much like Sean Payton's contract with the Saints, Sean McVay is still under contract until 2026, and if he were to leave, the Rams would retain his rights. So let's say he leaves, he wants to come back, and maybe he wants to go to another team, much like Sean Payton is doing right now. In order to get interviewed by the Denver Broncos like Sean Payton is right now, he had to get that okayed by the Saints. And let's say the Rams have a coach that they want. Let's say McVay leaves, Rams get a coach that they want, and they're fine with that situation. At that point, they could talk about maybe a trade for Sean McVay, okay him interviewing for other teams and all that type of stuff. Or he would just come back and he'd still have the rest of his contract to play out. So there's a good amount that's going to happen over the next few. Expect it to happen actually fairly quickly. I don't expect this to be a drawn-out process. I don't think Sean McVay wants that. I don't think the Rams definitely don't want that. Look for him to make a decision over the next few weeks. I think by the time, or right around the time the Super Bowl happens, Sean McVay will have made a decision about his NFL future. And we'll be here to report on it. But let me know what you guys think. Is Sean McVay going to stay with the Rams, or is he going to leave for TV to another team or take a break? Let me know in the comments section. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.